Well, good afternoon. The H1B Guy here, and today the H1B Guy live, July 28th, 2021. Wanted to have conversations around the second H1B lottery, a lot of the predictions surrounding the visa bulletin for September and October of 2021, some conversations around processing delays, and your Q&A. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube and like this video so that I can continue to produce more content like this for you. I also wanted to mention the H1B Guy offers a variety of consulting services. I help businesses and individuals solve complex work authorization issues in the recruitment process while bringing awareness to employment-based immigration benefits. If I can help you, please reach out. I'd love to hear how. Today's live stream is brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads and local job postings since 2001. By Path to Canada, the ideal plan B for high-skilled immigrants currently located in the U.S. whose status may be uncertain. And by PERM-Ads.com, the industry leader in providing a seamless experience for employers and immigration attorneys navigating the complex PERM recruitment ad phase of the labor certification process. Well, I just wanted to give a big thank you to everyone who has taken the time here over the last few weeks to send me questions and comments. There is no doubt that the number one and number two questions that I continue to receive are surrounding the second H1B lottery for fiscal year 2022, as well as what I think my predictions are for really the October 2021 visa bulletin. I think, like a lot of us, we had some expectations going into August that weren't quite met. And because of that, and because of a lot of the processing delays that are being rumored, seems to be a lot of unrest right now in the community, and I think rightfully so. It's just one of those things. So what I wanted to do is have some conversations around the second H1B lottery and what I still think the timelines are. Of course, I've done a couple of videos on it. The first one that I did was, will there be a second H1B lottery for fiscal year 2022? And in that, I said that I didn't think so, but I've been wrong before. Several weeks later, I posted a follow-up to that called the second H1B lottery continued. And so in that video where I talked about, fiscal year 2022 and how some of what I talked about back in the first post has changed. And if you go back to the first post where I talked about, the second H1B lottery, we covered some of the dates around that. And I wanted to go over that again. If we look at last year for fiscal year 2021, which was back on October 14th of 2020, USCIS began notifying employers of the results of a second H1B lottery for fiscal year 2021. And they gave employers a 90-day window, which was from August 17th to November 16th. If you look at the current calendar for this year, in terms of how the dates align, you can go and see, and I've been saying this now from, my second lottery for fiscal year 2022 continued, where I talked about, I thought that the window for this to happen was going back to this past Monday, July 26th through Friday, August 13th. Which, if you go and look, that would mean that the filing window then would start for employers starting on August the 16th. I still think that holds true. I mean, we're only 3 days into that 3-week window that I provided. And a lot of people are asking me, have I heard anything? What do I hear? What am I hearing? I will tell you that your employer or your immigration attorney is going to be the first one to know. And if the rumor mill starts circulating amongst the attorneys, then I think that we can fully expect the second lottery will be happening. A lot of you have asked me about what I thought on the numbers And I've talked about this a little bit, but right now, if I'm being honest, I think we're probably looking at somewhere between 10 to 15,000 that would be sort of reissued in the second lottery. Um, I still think that that's the case, and highly likely. Last year, the estimates were around 18,000. So I'm going to stick to that 10 to 15,000 sort of range is what I think will happen if and when the second lottery does open. I'm aware of also a lot of cases that were selected in the initial electronic selection filing period where the employers decided to not file the paper petition. That's such an unfortunate thing for the individual, to go through that, to be selected, and then the employer not file the full paper petition. But I think that that's pretty common, a lot more common than we'd like to believe that it is. That is what is created in the electronic filing period. When we talk about it's $10 per person for employers to submit a name into the electronic portal, I think that creates issues where we see 308,000 submissions for fiscal year 2022. And yet here we are, for 85,000, we're looking at a second lottery where 10 to 15,000 will be reissued. So again, this is all new. We're learning from this. We're collecting data around it. But I'll still hold to that August 13th day as when I think employers will begin to be notified as kind of the last day. And the reason why I say that is, again, if you look at the calendar and the 90-day window and how it looks leading into November, that deadline then would be right around the 19th or so of November, which puts it a week before Thanksgiving. So I'll still stick with that timeline and that time frame. I'm curious to see what you guys think. If any of you out there have any thoughts on it, I definitely want to take some questions and comments. If you have those, we'll get to those at the end. But what's really interesting about all of this, and I've talked about the percentages and the probability of being selected and what it means for employers and for individuals. You look at 308,000, 85,000 spots, that puts, probability of being selected somewhere around 27%. Last year, the probability of being selected was 31%. So if you take out, the 85,000, let's say we have some that weren't awarded or no longer interested. I think if you do the math in terms of 10 to 15,000 potentials that could be reissued in the second lottery, I think that you'll see that probability of being selected is somewhere around 7%. And so, listen, the demand for high-skilled immigrants has never been higher. The shortage of available talent is clearly evident. I've talked about 1.9% unemployment in IT computer occupations from March 2021's data. So think about that. Our IT unemployment is less than 2%. And again, some of these high-tech, high-skilled roles where we don't have the candidate pipelines, where we don't have, the human capital, it's going to come down to these temporary work visas and how we do that. And if it doesn't, those jobs will go outsource, offshore, or the new term that we've talked about for a few months now, global parking, which has become a necessity. So really wanted to just ask you again, post your comments, your questions in the chat. I'll get to them at the end. I just wanted to do an intro talking about the second lottery. I'm going to talk about the Visa Bulletin briefly here as well, and what some of my thoughts are. And then I want to talk a little bit about the processing delays that we're currently seeing. So, a couple Wednesdays ago, back on, the 14th, which I thought was pretty early in the month, we got the bulletin, and there was a lot of lack of movement. Honestly, it was a little bit underwhelming, and not that we weren't prepared for that. As historically speaking, August and September bulletins tend to have a lot less movement historically year over year. But when you look at where the movement actually occurred for final action dates, it occurred in India EB3 up to July 2013. It occurred in China EB2, which moved 121 days. China EB2, which moved 121 days to April 1st, 2018. So if you go and look at the date of filings, around that, your China EB3, which Charlie mentioned now 6 to 12 months in the future is where he's projecting those dates of filing. You have, China EB2 is July 2018. You look at India EB3, February 1st, 2014. So February 1st, 2014, July 1st, 2013. I think you can see then, if you say 12 months from August, what will that look like for final action for India and EB3? So again, moving ever so closer, but lack of movement. And I think a lot of that now has to do, as I said, into the insight into the processing delays, or the capability of processing more than 140,000 employment-based visas annually. Based on just kind of the conversation with the chats with Charlie, 9,000 were wasted last year, and he expects 100,000 this year. So that's 109,000 wasted green cards that could have been issued and help alleviate some of the backlog. So a lot of you have been asking me about what I think about October. I did a video a couple of weeks ago that I'd been working on in advance of the August bulletin, where we had seen a good bit of movement. I still feel like in October, we're going to see a couple of jumps from what we'll see in September. I think still final action dates around June 2012 for India EB2. And then I think you'll see dates of filing be about 12 months in advance of that. So June 2013. If I go back and look at China, again, I think we're looking at July 1st, 2018 for EB2 final action dates with dates of filing July 1st, 2019. I still think that those are possibilities, but a lot of the questions have been surrounding dates of filing because historically USCIS has accepted dates of filing October, November, December, the beginning of the fiscal year. So those dates are very important as we talk about. That allows you to begin preparing your documentation to become documentarily qualified. So I think if you look at dates of filing and, potentially what that can mean, I still am going to stick to that June 1st, 2015 for India EB3. But a lot of you feel like, and as we've seen and heard from Charlie, the final action dates are going to hit into January, maybe even February 2014 for September's bulletin. So I think that'll be something that'll be similar, maybe with some smaller movement. The real insight is going to come into the amount of downgrades that have happened and as they are counted against. So I'll be real curious to see, how that shakes out and transpires. But I know a lot of you have asked me what my thoughts are. A lot of you are close. A lot of you have been considering doing downgrades and have asked me what my thoughts are around the downgrade. I'll just say that for me, I feel like with the downgrade, there's just a lot that has to happen. Average estimates right now for perm labor certification, 12 to 18 months. Again, I think you have to calculate, if you're changing employers or if you're considering a downgrade, how quickly are they going to initiate that process and how long does that process last? And then how quickly do these dates advance forward and where does that put you? You do have 12 months from your final action date becoming current. At least that's my understanding to get your adjustment of status filed. So it does give you a little bit of time. But it's just something to think about. I know that there are a lot of proponents out there of the downgrade. I just am not one of them, and maybe I'm being stubborn in that approach. But I just think that if you qualify for a certain level of employment-based preference, if we're talking about merit and skill, ultimately it's at the employer's discretion whether or not your position qualifies for a downgrade, if they'll accept less requirements. But for me, I feel like you've worked hard to earn those credentials, have the experience that you have, and be vetted under an EB2. My 2 cents is generally to stay in that, because I think that we're going to, over the next 12 months, I really believe we're going to start to see a narrowing and a lot more closing of the gap between EB2 and EB3 for fiscal year 2022. I hope that rings true, but definitely to be determined. Wanted to ask you again, if you haven't already, to please like this video. It helps promoting the live stream out to the masses in YouTube. Subscribe to the H1B Guy channel if you haven't already. Click the bell for notifications so that you're notified anytime we do go live like we have here today. If you're looking for ways to support the H1B Guy platform, you can do so through the super chat function. You can also do so through buymeacoffee.com/the H1B Guy. Any contributions to the platform made through the live stream or through Buy Me a Coffee are reinvested back into the technology here and helping bring more quality content to you. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who've come out and supported me here this afternoon. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join me. Another thing that I wanted to talk about briefly are processing delays that we're experiencing within the U.S. government. And it's not just about work visas. Of course, that's a big part of it. Specifically, you look at some of the adjustment of statuses that were filed in October, November, December, January of last year that are still pending. Those are pretty atrocious delays. You look at some of the data that I covered last Friday, where you have basically over 200,000 cases that were pending for employment-based preferences from Q2 data, USCIS performance data. You look at the massive delays that we're still seeing for H4 EADs, some of which have actually extended from when I was covering the H4 EAD delays back in March, when I had my friends Keely and Divya on to talk about how it's impacted. And you can look at some of the statistics that surround the processing delays for H4 EADs specifically, and the impact that it's created on 90% plus women that are H4 EADs. You talk about quality of life and work stoppage. As I've said before, it's a human rights issue right now. So I'm still hopeful that delays will become a thing of the past. Processing will ramp up. But I think also, if we look at the H4 EAD as a whole and where the issues are, when you make it a separate filing from the primary sponsor, the spouse, when you don't allow for premium processing or electronic submission, and then you continue to blame COVID as a reason for the processing delays, you're going to have these issues that you have where folks have been out of work 3, 6, 9 months because they waited till the 60 to 90 day mark to file for their H4 EAD extension because they were waiting on their spouse's approval. I'm really hopeful that we can get honestly, get some clarity and some help as it relates to these delays. The other thing too, and it's not just USCIS, but I had a few friends that needed to get a passport, and they went a few weeks ago, and expedited processing for U.S. citizens for passports is taking over 12 weeks right now. That's pretty significant. So if you think about it, the impact that COVID is having across all sorts of processing capabilities within our U.S. government, you look at the surge and what's happening with cases in the new variant, and I think again this is going to be an issue that we continue to see well into next year, and it's very unfortunate. But to me, the solution goes back to electronic processing. that's really going to be the way that we can help avoid a lot of these significant delays and open up the capabilities. Electronic processing is the answer to a lot of these issues that we're currently seeing. And so I'm hopeful, again, that over the next several months, we'll see increases in processing capabilities. But, if you wanted me to be honest with you, I really think that it's going to be next year. I've been talking about that for several months now. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But listen, the processing delays aren't just limited to USCIS. When you look at what's happening with, the Department of State and travel.gov and their capabilities and abilities to process the volume of passport requests that they've had, I think it goes without saying that we're all looking forward to whatever our new normal is. And I think the demand in passport requests show that. Another thing that I wanted to briefly hit on is last night I put out a tweet, and my friend Hafsa, who is a producer with NPR, had reached out to me and asked if I could assist in helping connect her to an H1B holder who has either quarantined in Mexico or is currently quarantining in Mexico. A few of you have reached out to me. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to put it out there one more time here on the live stream. And just as a mention, of course, this would be completely confidential. And I would love to help connect you to Hafsa as we look to bring more awareness to the travel ban and the restrictive nature around it, specifically on high-skilled immigrants. And honestly, just bring more awareness to it. That's always been one of the missions here of this platform, is to bring awareness to employment-based immigration benefits. And I have full trust in Hafsa and the folks over at NPR to do so confidentially. So if I can help facilitate that, please reach out to me. DM me on Twitter, or of course you can message me here, however would be easiest. So wanted to just ask you again, like this video, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. If you have questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and start going through those here, because we've got several that have come in, and I want to make sure that that we go over each and every one of them. So let me know what's on your mind. Hey, Dada, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Good to see you. Hard to believe this is the first live stream that I've done for January of 2021. The last live stream I did was back in June on the 1-year anniversary of the H1B Guy. Did a little bit of traveling with my family at the beginning of the month, and I've just been incredibly busy supporting a variety of my clients and working on some really big things here for the H1B Guy platform. So nice to see you. Hey, Vinod says that there was a petition filed against H1B second lottery. Will that stop second H1B lottery in August month? I'm not aware of that lawsuit. I'd be curious as to know the grounds surrounding it. But yeah, if you could share that, I'd love to look into that. I'm not aware of it. When does PERM cases get picked up in audit? Is it during the start of the month that it's being processed, or during any time of the month? Yeah, I think that's any time that the case comes across the CO's desk, certifying officer's desk, and there's something that they see that they don't like or they want to request more information on. That's when you'll see that. Now, they may send those out in batches, but in terms of how it works, I think it's just during the course of processing. Hey, Prabhu, how are you? Hearing lots of I-129 approvals from Texas and Nebraska, but no such approval from Vermont and California. Any insight or prediction, and how is the new HCAP approval rate this year? Yeah, I haven't seen the data on the lottery approval numbers. I'm really interested in that, because the last data that I saw for USCIS processing for new H-1B cases during the Biden administration's initial run was over 90%. I would expect that to continue. And of course, continuing employment generally comes in a little bit higher than that. But, Texas and Nebraska, for the most part, in my experience, have been what processed the bulk of the I-129s, with Vermont doing a lot in the East. I'm not surprised, though. You're talking about Vermont and California specifically that have had a lot more restrictive return to works. But it's good to see that at least these approvals are cranking up, and we're seeing the data surrounding them, specifically around new cases. But a lot of that comes back to, if you look at the performance data, and then when they break it down by the visa center. It's always interesting to see who's doing the bulk of the work, and where those cases were submitted. Hey, Darshan says, finally, I decided to downgrade to EB2 to EB3 November 2013, since my date will be current in September Bulletin. Yeah, I mean, I think that your data filing will be current. Can you get your recertification approved in the next 12 months if you've already decided to do that, and then meet that window? Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of folks that would tell you to go for it. The reason to downgrade is that I don't want to miss the chance, as I didn't file downgrade last year. Yeah, a lot of people feeling that way for you. And again, if we look at kind of where I think you're in that weird window of time, right? That 24 months between, June 2011 and June 2013, which we could easily see with the EB3s moving up even more, potentially dates of filing to 2015. You don't want to miss that window. And that's why, while I will say, and you and I have talked about this, I'm not a fan of the downgrade, but I understand why you would do it. If it makes sense for you personally and it's worth it, go for it, right? And your employer's willing to do it for you. Hey, Sue, how you doing? One of my predictions for September and October bulletins after the live chat from DOS. My PD is February 2012 for India EB2. Do I stand a chance of filing I-45 at least in October? Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at, again, what I mentioned earlier, I mean, you're in an interesting place, because you're kind of in that same gap that Darshan is in, which is, for me, when I do the look ahead, I'm going to stick to it. I still think that we're looking at, June 1st, 2013, for dates of filing for India EB2. So does that mean that you have a chance? Absolutely. I think that you definitely have a chance coming up in the next couple months. What will September show us? Will it show us any movement? What kind of movement will it show us for EB3 final action? Will that get to January 1st, 2014? And if it does, I can't see the gap continuing to widen between India EB2 and EB3. But I believe that we'll see that gap shrink coming up in the next fiscal year. Hey, Amit, how you doing? EB filing dates don't tend to move after October. What do you think the filing dates for EB will be come October 2021? Again, in my look ahead, and I'm still going to stick to that, but I think, if you're asking for application dates of filing, and I go back and I look at my look ahead, I think you're going to see dates of filing for India EB2 June 1st, 2013. That could be way off, but I'm going to hold to that right now. And I'm still going to hold to that June 1st, 2015 dates of filing for India EB3. Thanks for jumping in, Amit. Appreciate it. Yeah, Vivesh, nice to see you. Thanks for jumping in. As I said earlier, I still believe that really between now and August 13th is the window of time for when employers will be notified. And the reason why I say that is if you look at when applications would have to be filed, and the 90-day window that would open would be, roughly August 16th through November 16th, which would maybe even 15th lead right into the week before Thanksgiving, and give USCIS plans or give USCIS time to process those cases that may come in at the very end. If you remember, it was like early mid-February that USCIS came out last year and announced that the H1B lottery for fiscal year 2021 had been completed. More recently, though, they've come back and allowed for some resubmissions based on cases that were rejected due to having an October 1st start date. And a lot of you have asked me, hey, if my case was rejected and I'm eligible for resubmission, would my case be counted against fiscal year 2021 lottery or fiscal year 2022? And my answer is the fiscal year 2021 lottery, because if you read into it, it says resubmission for H1B lottery for fiscal year 2021. So good question there, Vivesh. Thanks for joining me. Amit asked, what are your thoughts on Biden admin blueprint published yesterday? Does that have anything that can help with the EB backlog? I glazed over that, Amit, but it looked like it was a lot of border protection, TPS, asylee, refugee, undocumented. I didn't see anything as it relates to high-skilled employment-based immigration. If I missed it, let me know. I'd love to go back and review it. Like I said, I just skimmed it. I looked for the outlines and the paragraphs. I didn't see anything that looked relevant to my content, so I moved on. But if you saw something that I need to review, let me know. I'd love to go back and read that. Thanks for jumping in, Amit. Kalpana asked, what are my predictions about second lottery? As I said earlier, Kalpana, I still believe that it's going to happen. I still believe that will happen between now and August 13th. Although, I was just made aware earlier in the chat from Vinod that says that there is a pending lawsuit surrounding second H1B lottery. Anytime you hear litigation against the U.S. government and it's surrounding whatever it may be in reference to high-skilled immigration, of course, anything is at play then at that point. So I'll definitely be curious to see what that litigation looks like. What is the intent behind that? I have a hard time understanding why an immigration attorney, though, would be against utilizing all of the available H1Bs that are made available for each fiscal year. But I don't want to jump to any conclusions without reading the intent of the lawsuit. But thanks for jumping in here today, Kalpana. Good to see you again. Just wanted to ask you again, if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. Click the bell for notifications so that you're notified anytime we post new content here to this channel. Also wanted to mention, if you're looking for ways you can support the H1B Guy platform, you can do so through the live stream through the super chat function. You can also do so through buymeacoffee.com/the H1B Guy. I just want to say thanks to everyone who's taken time to offer your support and encouragement to this channel and platform over the last several weeks. It's been so exciting. The H1BGuy.com and the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube are coming up on almost 40,000 views for the month of July. And honestly, I can't do this without your support. One of the things that I wanted to do when we launched this platform, if we go back to, you've heard me say this multiple times, is I love helping employers and individuals solve complex work authorization issues, but I also want to make sure that we bring awareness to employment-based immigration benefits. And some of the foundations of my views around high-skilled immigrants and the necessity of the high-skilled immigrant pipeline as it relates to innovation and technology here in this country. You guys know I love this country. I think it's the greatest country in the world, but our immigration laws, specifically as it relates to employment-based benefits, need serious, dire reform because we're working under laws that are over 30 years old at this point. I am a proponent of merit-based immigration, of a points-based system. Unfortunately, under the current administration, I think that that's just a complete pipe dream. I'm also a fan and want everyone out there who keeps up or follows this channel to know that one of the biggest advocacy points here of this platform is the removal of country caps for employment-based preferences, specifically the 7% cap that's put on country of birth. I'm a proponent of a first-come, first-served system. If we're going to award a high-skilled immigrant an employment-based visa based on their merit and skill, we need to do so as well when we look at green card employment-based visas. I'm also a big fan of and a proponent of ending the documented dreamer age outs. We've talked about that a good bit on this channel. But listen, this is about bringing awareness not only to you, the high skilled immigrants, but to other folks who keep up and follow with this channel. One of my largest demographics is in the tech startup, HR and staffing space. Outside of the high skilled immigrants that consume my content, but I work very closely with a lot of different businesses to help keep them informed and in the know as it relates to their options for work authorization for high skilled immigrants. Sanjeev asked, if an applicant with multiple applications is already selected, is it the case that his remaining applications will still be considered for second lottery or will be filtered out before the lottery? So my understanding is that if you were selected in the lottery, even if you were filed by multiple employers, that you will no longer be considered for the second lottery. Now, that's just my understanding. I could be 100% inaccurate on that, Sanjeev, but my understanding is because how it comes down to is you, the individual, your name, the employer is awarded on your behalf, but you then have the right to work with whichever employer. You could only one employer could file the full petition for you. So again, it still could be a possibility if another employer selected on your behalf, but I don't think that's likely. At least that's my understanding. I could be wrong. There may be some other folks who could provide some better insight into that. It's just this isn't something that I'm as familiar with, again, because this is completely new territory for a lot of us here. But I'll go back to if the employer was awarded, you have the option to decide which employer submits the petition on your behalf, because only one can be submitted. So as I talk through this, again, if multiple employers submitted your petition and they're selected on the second round and you weren't submitted on the first round, it could very highly be likely that if you're selected the second go round and that employer submits the petition, but only one employer can submit the petition on your behalf, all others would be rejected. So great question. Definitely curious to find out the answer. And if we have any cases of individuals who have been selected in the second lottery, who were selected in the first, but the employer didn't file the petition, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Oh, thanks, Kalpana. Appreciate, your support. Again, I can't do this without people like you who jump into these live streams and engage here, offering me likes, subscribing to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube, checking out the H1BGuy.com. That's how I continue to bring awareness for your situation specifically. And the only way that we are going to get reform is that if we talk about this and we advocate for it and that there's a plan in place. We've talked about what gets reform done. It's money and numbers. Numbers meaning a group of individuals collectively. Hey, Ravi, thanks for jumping in. Nice to see you. Hi, my priority date is May 2014. Do you expect EB3 filing date or final action date current by October 21? So for you, if we look at it, right, let's go back and look at, dates of filing for the August 2021 visa bulletin. For EB3 is February 2014. The final action dates for EB3 India, July 1st, 2013. And I know I worked a little bit backwards there, but your date is May 2014. So if we go back to some of my look ahead predictions, which I covered earlier, and I'm still going to stick to those, even though I produced that content a few weeks ago before the August bulletin came out, I'm still going to say that I believe that you'll see, dates of filing of June 1st, 2015 for India EB3. I definitely am going to have to go back and tweak my India EB3 final action date predictions, because if you look at historically, I believe that for September, we're going to be into that January 1st, 2014 date. So I do expect that there will be some movement for final action dates for India EB3. What I don't know is if it will get to May 2014 in October, or if that would be something that may happen in November or December. But I think worst case scenario for you, your application dates will be current. So you can prepare all of the necessary evidence and documentation and become documentarily qualified so that when your final action date is current, adjustment of status can be processed. But if USCIS is accepting dates of filing in October, November, December, you might be right in the sweet spot. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, Ravi. Keep me posted and let me know how things go. You're oh so close is what I would say. So thanks for jumping in here this afternoon, Ravi. Really appreciate it. Just wanted to say again, if you have any questions or comments, definitely let me know. I've got a few more minutes here. If what do you guys think about the H1B lottery, second lottery? Do you think it's still going to happen? What are your thoughts on the October 2021 visa bulletin? Do you think I'm off? Do you think I'm over? Am I being too liberal, too conservative? Do any of you have any thoughts around that? Let me know in the chat while I kind of close out a little bit here. The other thing, I think a lot of what we've been seeing that we've been working on is the travel ban that's currently happening. I know I alluded to it earlier, but the continuation of this travel ban and the discrimination of the travel ban specifically, it just seems to me that, vaccination passport, negative tests, quarantining, it's just all crazy right now. And to me, if you have a U.S. vaccinated individual who's a high-skilled non-immigrant status who needs to travel, they should have that freedom of travel. But I get it, it is about border protections. It's about limiting, mass spreading instances. I get it. It felt like we were turning the corner, and now here we are, kind of almost back to where we were, back around the beginning of the year. So I'll maintain hope that things will correct themselves sooner rather than later. SNH says October 2020 visa bulletin published with a filing date of January 2014. Is there any chance the final action date in September bulletin will reach the end of 2014? My PD is March 2014. Yeah, so SNH, what I think is going to happen, as I just mentioned a little bit earlier, is I think you'll see January 1st, 2014 for final action in September's bulletin. I think that could bump up starting in October. You're kind of in the similar situation that Ravi is. And again, that could be, it could be October, November, December. But I think for you, you're going to see your final action come current in sometime in the next, in Q1 of fiscal year 2022. Of course, as I've said, I still will stick to, I think we're going to see June 1st, 2015 for dates of filing for India EB3. And I'm assuming you're asking about India EB3 category. Hey, Verada, nice to see you. Any thoughts on September 2015 EB3? Woo! Right at the cut, right? You've heard me talking about for the last 15 minutes here, June 1st, 2015 for dates of filing for the October 2021 bulletin. So I think that this is the painful approach for you, that if it is June 1st, 2015, that we'll most likely see that date then for 7-8 months, which means what? You're looking at maybe May or June of next year before you would see the application dates of filing advance, but USCIS wouldn't be accepting those. It would just be a matter of you to begin preparing evidence, becoming documentarily qualified. Yeah, you're in that bubble too. There's so many of you that are in that 2012 to 15 range, trying to figure out what you do and how your date's going to come current and when. You've waited forever. And I was talking about this with someone else earlier in the week. We talked about if dates do not advance for September, October, November, kind of looking ahead. There's going to be some of you that have been waiting over 4,000 days since your priority date was approved or obtained. It's pretty crazy. I mean, that's 11, 12 years we're talking about. Hey, Madhu, I was late. Could you please let me know what would be the dates on the second H1B lottery? Yeah, it's all speculation right now. Again, I think between now and August 13th, employers will be notified. I believe that the portal then would begin opening up on August 16th, and employers would have 90 days leading up to the week before Thanksgiving to submit paper petitions. And then I think we would see an announcement from USCIS sometime the end of January, beginning of February, that the fiscal year 2022 H1B lottery had been concluded. So hope that helps. Mandeep says final action dates won't move much for the rest of the calendar year. Charlie clearly said it would be at January 1st, 2014. Yeah, I mean, again, you could see it sit there, right? I'm hopeful that it doesn't, but we've heard that. It's the last 3 chats with Charlie have been very mixed in terms of the dissemination of information. Some of it confusing, some of it eerily accurate. Hey, Sajal, thank you for jumping in. My priority date is September 25th, 2014. We filed I-485 October 2020, received EAD AP card February 2021. When could we expect my priority date will be current? That's a good question. I think if you go back and look at 12 months from that point, right, you were in that first wave where you qualified before the date retrogressed back to January 1st, 2014. But current date is what, February 1st, I believe, 2014. So again, if you look at that, right, the date of filing is currently February 1st, 2014. Final action is July 1st, 2013. So I think you're probably somewhere in that 9-month range is my guess. But keep me posted. I'm really curious on your timeline. Would love to know how it goes for you. Thanks for jumping in. My understanding of data filing announced in October will continue to the end of the year. Yeah, well, there you go. So that means that you'll have 3 months, October, November, December, to file under dates of filing based on whatever the data filing date is announced, is what Verada means by that. So absolutely, Madhu. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you joining me here today. Napursa, sorry, I joined late. My PD is October 11th for India EB2. What's your thought? Woo! You are right on that bubble, man. I'll tell you, your actual right now is June 1st, 2011. So you're October 1st, 2011. I tend to think that you probably won't see any movement in September, but you'll see some movement in October's bulletin, and most likely, I think you may come current for dates for final action in October 2021. Keep me posted, Napur. You've waited a long time, man. You're looking at probably over 3,800 days if we go back to that October 2011 date. I'm really curious. I'm just going to calculate this really quickly because I'm always curious when we look at calculations and we talk about what a backlog really is, right? A backlog is anything that starts to collect into the thousands, right? So let's see, October 1st, 2020. So if your October 1st, 2011, I'm just using that date as a point of reference, were to become current in October 1st, 2020, you're talking about 3,653 days that you've waited for your priority date to come current. Think about that, 3,653 days. That's a lot of patience you've got there, Nipur, isn't it? Man, it's crazy. Well, I just wanted to thank you all again for joining me. Appreciate the comments, Nipur. You can like, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. If you're looking for ways to support this platform, you can do so through the super chat function here on YouTube or buymeacoffee.com/the H1B Guy. Just appreciate all of your support. If you have a friend that hasn't heard about this channel or hasn't checked out the H1BGuy.com, please let them know. That's another way that you can help is just by word of mouth. Really appreciate your support. Wanted to let everyone know that today's live stream was brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads and local job postings since 2001. This national job board network provides recruitment websites in 1,024 major U.S. metro areas. Each local job board is its own portal and is a low-cost resource for immigration recruitment ads and local job postings for all industries and professions with a flat price of $225 per ad or $1,000 per month, regardless of which city you choose. RecruiterNetworks.com. Tell them the H1B Guy sent you. If you haven't seen Recruiter Networks, I advise you to check out their website. What they do is localized recruitment. So think AtlantaRecruiter.com, DallasRecruiter.com, ChicagoRecruiter.com. My friend Richard Allman is an absolute genius when it comes to job postings at a very low cost, no frills offering and service. And I can promise you that if you tell them that I sent you, you will be handled with absolute white gloves. This live stream is also brought to you by Path to Canada. Path to Canada provides an ideal plan B for high-skilled immigrants currently located in the U.S. whose status may be uncertain. If you're facing an H-1B denial or OPT expiration, please don't get caught off guard. Make sure you have a plan B, and Path to Canada is your answer. They will gladly help you navigate the process. And if you're interested in finding out more, please copy and paste the link that's in the video description below and join some of the over 500 H1B Guy followers who have checked out Path to Canada. And the news and this live stream is last brought to you by PERM-Ads.com, the industry leader in providing a seamless experience for employers and immigration attorneys navigating the complex PERM recruitment ad phase of the labor certification process. If you want to reduce your costs and overhead associated with PERM labor certification recruitment advertising, let PERM-Ads.com help you. My friend Carl Balsmeyer is just an amazing person. We're going to have Carl on the H1B Guy platform here at some point in the very near future. We're working on that, probably sometime in August. And then, back to Path to Canada, my friend Mark Pavlovopoulos is just a great guy. And if he can help you, if I can create an introduction, please, please, please let me know. Couple last chats and comments here. Verada says, thanks, H1B Guy. Do I know if there's going to be any background that USCIS and Department of State are working to reduce the wastage reduction? Yeah, I think that it really is just a staff issue. And if you look at the human capital problem that's being experienced across the country, whether that's restaurants or here in the U.S. government, we're seeing those issues over and over. And the U.S. government is not immune to it. Hey, Steve, my priority is November 2014. Can we get EB2 or EB3 filing date this October? Yeah, I think for you, for the EB3, I think June 2015 is still what I'm holding into for dates of filing. So thanks for jumping in late here, Steve. Good to see you, man. Really appreciate your support. Of course, if I can help you in any way, you can contact me through the H1BGuy.com. If you're not already, please follow the H1B Guy on Twitter, on Facebook, the H1B Guy on Instagram, on my Telegram channel, the H1B Guy there as well. We have an interactive community and group. Tell a friend if you haven't about the H1B Guy. If you're an employer and you need help with work authorization and recruitment strategies and issues that come up when you are recruiting high-skilled immigrants outside of the U.S., please let me know. I'd love the opportunity to help you. If you're an individual who needs assistance and needs a non-biased, non-legal opinion to your current situation, please let me know. Reach out. I'd love to help you. But just wanted to thank everyone who took time to jump in here today. So good to be live with you. I'm Robert. I'm the H1B guy, your global source for all things H1B.